Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the episode 1, the maiden voyage of a new series that put together by myself, my co-host here, Jason, called
What's going
Top
on?
5, where we are going to be covering our top 5 of whatever the episode's topic is. And since we both separately had this idea and found out while we were on a stream together that we had the same idea, we're like, hey, let's collaborate on this. So the plan is that we're probably going to be alternating back and forth between our channels. Although we did find out that we can stream this to both of our channels, so you could also be watching this on Jason's channel as well. But since I'm very video game focused, probably most of the video game topics will be here on my channel. He wants to do top 5s for movies and music and stuff as well. So most of those will probably be on his channel, and it'll probably be every other week. So I am very much looking forward to this, and I thought, what better way to start off the stream than talk about my favorite gaming genre, Metroidvanias, and I've got a couple of enthusiasts joining us tonight. My good buddy, DJ Axis, who has been on a number of times. Thank you, DJ, for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. What's
And
good, gentlemen?
What's up? And someone who I've talked a lot with on Discord, but never face-to-face on a stream, friend of mine, Skeptical Mario from my Achievement Hunting 101 community. Hello, Mario. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. No one told me I was supposed to be enthusiastic.
So, as I've often mentioned, that I'm I'm mainly an Xbox guy. I've been branching out a little bit more lately, but I'm this close to 700,000 gamer score on Xbox, so I'm a big Xbox guy, and I'm really into Metroidvanias. And on our AH101 community, we call Metroidvanias Vayners for short. So Mario and I may accidentally slip the word Vayner in there instead of Metroidvanias. So if you hear us say that, that's what we're talking about. That's our abbreviation for it. And as I've often mentioned on many of my streams, I am working on, I'm kind of plateaued for a while, but I'm going to be climbing up the Xbox Metroidvania leaderboard eventually. Currently, I think I'm like 25th globally, so I'm up there. I'm number 1 in California. But this guy right here, Skeptical Mario, is number 1 globally, so he knows what he's talking about. So it's glad that he could join us because he's got a lot of Metroidvania experience under his belt.
Yeah, I've played about 113 out of the 152 Metroidvanias that are on True Achievements' leaderboard.
Yes. So I plan to play them all as well, but I am got a lot of them on the backlog because I'm trying to get my recovery up before I start tons of new games, and I've got a bunch of Metroidvanias in the backlog once I do. So I want to start off with a little bit of each of our backgrounds in Metroidvania before we kind of get into it. So for me, I'm not. I was thinking about it today on which one was my very first, and it was either between Metroid Prime or Super Metroid. I'm not sure which I played first because I never played Super Metroid on an actual Super Nintendo. I didn't play it until a Super Nintendo emulator around the time of Metroid Prime. So that's kind of where I got my start in the genre. I really liked the games. I started playing like all of the Metroid games at that point. But it wasn't until I got connected with the AH101 community we have a channel specifically in the Discord. I didn't plug the Discord into the notes, but I'll do that later if anyone wants to join us who's on Xbox. We have a channel specifically dedicated to Metroidvanias, and I got plugged into a lot of great Metroidvania fans, and that's really where it took off for me, and I've been playing lots of Metroidvanias since. So that's kind of a little bit of background of mine. What about you guys? Jason, since you're the co-host, give me a little bit of background about your Metroidvania experience.
Yeah, so I pretty much started with the original Metroid on the NES. Played that, did no idea where I was going, what I was doing on that one. Learned eventually how to do that. And then Castlevania was my second one after that, just because having an NES and just going through that library at the time, pretty much those were my first two, and then just started playing all those style of games down the line. Maybe one will be on the list that I really, really enjoyed on a certain console. But yeah, pretty much all that way. And then, Samus and Metroid has been one of my favorite franchises just forever.
Sweet. And TJ, what about you?
Pretty much the same answer as Jason. I grew up with an NES. I mean, I grew up in an era just slightly before the NES. So like my first consoles were stuff like the Atari 2600, the Intellivision 2. My first computer was a Commodore VIC-20. So really, really old technology there. I grew up with the original Metroid. I grew up with the original Castlevania. I think I might have even played, like, there might have even been Metroidvanias on stuff like the Commodore 64, but I couldn't remember the names for the life of me. So it's been with me my whole life. I mean, look at the avatar that I'm using right now. It's pretty it's pretty cut and dry what one of my favorite franchises is.
Yes. So, and Mario, what about you? Where'd you get your start in the genre?
My start was definitely Metroid also. I started been gaming since like the very late 80s, and I'm not sure that I beat Metroid, the original Metroid on the NES, but I definitely played a whole bunch of Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. And I did play Symphony of the Night. I didn't have a PlayStation, but I would borrow my friend's PlayStation to play that game. And really in the last 5 or 6 years, I've gotten really into the genre on Xbox. And these days I only have an Xbox, so all my gaming is done there, but there's plenty to choose from.
Yep. Yeah, there are plenty. So, because we are big Xbox guys, I did send him a message clarifying like this. I know you're number one on Xbox, but this doesn't have to be just Xbox Metroidvania. So he's like, it's been so long since I played anything but Xbox. That's probably what my list is going to be. It's like, it's totally up to you. So, all right. So, one other quick thing I kind of wanted to go around and quickly and ask everyone before we got started is what was the last Metroidvania that you played? So for me, I've mentioned this on a few of my streams lately, was Cryo Gear, because I started it last summer and I got all but like one achievement, and because there's supposed to be 3 endings. I've been back and forth with the developer on Twitter DMs a bunch, and he's like, yeah, these are what the 3 endings are supposed to be. I was like, well, only 2 of them count because there's an achievement for getting, it just says get 2 of the multiple endings, so it doesn't even specify how many there are. But when I was talking to the dev, he's like, yeah, this is supposed to be one of them. I'm like, well, it didn't pop the achievement, so that one doesn't count. So at the end, there's 2 different ways to beat the game. After you beat the boss, there's like a terminal in the next room that you go to, and that's like the easy ending. Then the other ending is you have to go back through the game, because normally you can teleport to pretty much any room you've been to, but after you beat the final boss, the teleportation is turned off. You have to make your way back to the first room in the game in under 99 minutes, which is not difficult if you've played it a bunch. So I had to do that like 3 or 4 times because I kept running into bugs and stuff that he didn't foresee that prevented me from doing it. So I went back and I did it last month, and I had to do one more playthrough. I think it was like my 4th or 5th playthrough, and I made sure that I avoided all the bugs that I'd run into prior, and I was able to make it through and get to the end in like, I think I had like 70 minutes left, so it only took me like 20 minutes to get back to the beginning of the game, and I got that last achievement, got to completion finally. So that was the last Metroidvania I played. I've said I probably, other than the developer, I might be the most knowledgeable person on the planet about that game. I've played it so many times. So what about you guys? What was the most recent Metroidvania you guys played?
So for me, besides doing more like kind of research on this one, so there's going to be a game on here that I was just playing not too long ago that will probably be on my list, so I won't mention that one. But the newest one that I would say I didn't finish it, or I didn't put any hours in that much into, but the new Prince of Persia, I tried that out just to see how that is. Again, we got a little copy of that, so I got to play that. Another one I would say that the most recent that I sunk in a bunch of hours would have been Metroid Dread, where I played that a couple times. That would be the most out of anyone, besides kind of doing some of the research for the list that I have. Okay.
Yeah, I played the Prince of Persia Lost Crown demo, and I really liked it. So
yeah, it's not bad.
I haven't played the actual game yet, but that we'll get to that later. So, and TJ, what about you? What was the last one that you played?
Oh, this is an easy one.
If it's on your list and you want to withhold, that's fine too.
I think it might be on my list as an honorable mention, but that's all right. So I just played one today on Twitch. I played Astalon Tears of the Earth. It's, very underrated, like hidden gem among the Metroidvanias. It's like 2D pixel art, like an NES style, like graphics. switchable main characters. It's a really fun game. It's like right at that perfect balance of difficulty where it's not too easy, but it's not like frustratingly difficult either. And it kind of works a bit like a Souls-like game with the backtracking. So the game encourages you to unlock shortcuts, so that way you can like backtrack easier because it's really really heavy on the backtracking.
Okay.
But that's my most recent Metroidvania.
Okay, yeah. When doing some research for this stream, I saw a bunch of people mention that. I haven't played it yet, but there's a guy in our Discord community that he calls it Aslan Tears of Boredom because he found it incredibly boring. So anytime I hear someone talk about it, I can't help but think about him and him constantly going on about how boring he thought of. But he's like crazy good, and he likes things like as hard as possible. He does like if there's an achievement for like beating a Metroidvania with like 0% completion and do it and all these different achievements for like doing it on hard and stuff without dying, he'll do that on his very first playthrough. He's like super hardcore about stuff. So I will give a shout out to him. That's Play Ultimate. So which I'm sure Mario knew who I was talking about as soon as we started talking about Astalon. So, and what about you, Mario? What was the last one that you played?
Oh, the last Metroidvania I played was Aeterna Noctis.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, that's very difficult, and I'm stuck on some of the harder achievements. So I'm not sure that I'm going to get the completion on that one. I may eventually. I haven't given up, but I'm reluctant to start a new one until I'm completely done with that.
Yeah, that one, Aeterna Noctis is crazy difficult. There's an achievement in the game for each boss for beating them without taking damage, and these bosses are like very difficult. It's a 2D, very pretty art style, very hardcore, like Souls-like Metroidvania, 2D Metroidvania.
It's a great game. It is more on the more difficult side. It didn't quite make my list, but the achievement list is just brutal.
Yeah. So, all right. And last thing before we get into our ranking, I just want to say hi to the chat. We got my good buddy Nerdporio Life Form saying, "Oh my God." Yeah. Nerdy Neo's talking about Metroidvanias. And hello, Frederick Bernard. I think based on this picture, maybe you can confirm, Mario, but I'm guessing, is this Mental Knight?
Yeah, it's Mental Knight.
Okay. What's up, Mental Knight? Good to see you, buddy. And we've got someone from Kick. Probably someone trying to.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Trying to make some sales on their art.
Yeah.
And my good buddy, Dude1286, who we do a stream together every month about our achievements. According to Minigan, the most recent Metroidvania I played is Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Oh, shout out to Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. It is coming back to Game Pass next week. So, and there is an Xbox and a Windows version. However, the Windows version has an unobtainable achievement. So, but still, it is a pretty good game, and I would recommend it. And someone I was on stream with last night, Real Wade Nation. What's up, Real Wade Nation? Good evening. Good to see you, and I appreciate it. It was awesome. And my good buddy Paul Hadouken. What's up, Paul? And yeah, of course, he often mentions Salt and Sanctuary is his favorite. He mentions that all the time. And Forking Around. What's up, Forking Around? Good to see you. So, all right, with that, we will get into our list. Unfortunately, I'm on a free version of the software, so I don't have any slides, so I can't be like number 5, like a countdown video. So we're just gonna go with number 5. Who wants to go first?
I'll lead us off. Mine's easy. Mine is Ori, and the reason why I love this game is not because of the gameplay, but the artwork is fantastic. I couldn't choose between Blind Forest and Will o' the Wisp, so I just brought this one up because it's one game.
That's what I was going to ask, is which one you're just going to combine.
I honestly, if I had to choose one, I'll just say Blind Forest because that was the first one I played. It was the first, obviously the first one, but the artwork in this game is absolutely fantastic, and that's just what keeps me coming back. Like, obviously the gameplay is great, but if I just want to see great visuals and good music and everything like that, this game is phenomenal.
Okay. Yep. I would have a lot to say about it, but it's on my list too, so I'm going to save it. So, cool. All right. Mario, what about you? What's your number 5?
All right.
I'm really curious.
This may be a little controversial. My number 5 is Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Okay, cool.
And I'm sure to some extent it's because it's an older game and some of the movement isn't quite as fun as more recent games, but it is a classic. It added the RPG elements like the items, the gear and leveling up and everything, and it's got great bosses. It's got a huge map, save points. It's got fast travel. I'm not sure whether these were whether if this was the first game that had those or if it was innovated somewhere else, but it certainly made them popular. So, yeah.
I know.
Fantastic game.
I know depending on the ending or the actual ending was really a mind-blowing thing for people at the time. So I know that was one thing that it also got going for it.
Yeah, what a ballsy move to hide half the game behind a secret ending. And I don't know how people in the 90s were supposed to figure that out.
Yeah, so I'm sure everyone probably already knows, but if you haven't, I would say if at all possible, try not to spoil things to get people to go play our games, if at all possible. So there is if you haven't played Symphony of the Night, there is when you get to the ending, it may not be the real ending. There may be a whole nother half to the game that you're unexpecting. So, cool. All right, DJ, what about you? What's your number 5?
I'm going for something different, and I'm going to go with Shadow Complex.
Okay.
I never played the original. I think it was Shadow Complex Remastered on PC or on Steam.
Okay.
Just a different take on the whole Metroidvania formula. It's the same but different. I love that it's like a modern action movie. Like kind of like a spy thriller, and it's like in the Metroidvania formula, it still works. The gun nut in me, I love the different firearms you get as upgrades and like the suit that you put together. So it's you basically have like either Halo power armor or whatever you want to call it by the end of the game, or you can do the achievement where you beat the entire game with like a pistol and grenades. So it's just a fun game. I like the multiple endings. I just enjoyed every moment I spent with that game, like finding every little secret.
Yeah, I think because there were a bunch of achievements for that game for beating under various different percentages, and I think the lowest one was like 4%. And
it's
in
really
order
low.
To even do that, you have to like almost like sequence break in order to avoid getting one of the items. But yeah.
When I think of the Xbox 360, I have like 4 games that like pop up in my head. That's one of them. That anytime I think of Xbox 360, I think of trying to, microwave towels and try to get it back to work so I don't have the red ring and play that game. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And one of the cool things, in my opinion, at least, I think Shadow Complex almost like rejuvenized the Metroidvania genre because it had been kind of dormant. And Shadow Complex was basically what kicked off the very first Xbox Summer of Arcade. And that's where I first played it. I did eventually play the remastered one as well. It was on Game Pass for a while, but I think I started it while it was on Game Pass, but I didn't actually play it. Then it left Game Pass, so I ended up buying it when I was on sale. But it was still definitely worth it because it is a great game, and it's on my list as well. So I'm not going to say a whole lot more about it. But it was written by Orson Scott Card, which is
I didn't know that
the whole spy thriller aspect comes from.
Damn, that makes a lot of sense why it's so good.
Yeah. And a couple people in chat saying, Paul saying Shadow Complex is fantastic, and so is Insidious Bliss. What's up, Insidious Bliss? Good to see you, buddy. And also saw Spartacus hopping in here. What's up, Spartacus? Good evening. No, I've actually had this on my list of streams I've been wanting to do for almost since I started my channel. And we've got someone coming in from Jason's side of the fence. I think the only game I think of even remotely like this is Out of This World for Genesis. Pretty unforgiving. I've never even heard of that game.
Oh, that's a classic. That's a hard game.
So, hello, Michael Philip Daly. Good to see you here. All right, and then mine. It's not on my list until later, but in order to make this not a a top 5 of Metroidvania games, I limited myself to one Metroid game. So if you have multiple on your list, that's perfectly fine. I just wanted to keep it limited to one Metroid game in order to keep the list mixed up a little bit. So, but for me, my number 5 is a one that I often mention as one of the surprisingly great movie-based games, because games have the like the curse or whatever of typically being terrible, and it surprising was a really great game despite being based off a terrible movie. And I would say it's probably, at least on Xbox, it's probably the closest thing I would say to Super Metroid, and it was the Mummy Demastered.
Yeah,
I loved this game. I really need to go back and play it again. It's just, being an Xbox achievement hunter, it takes a lot to get me to go back and play a game that I've already got all the achievements in. But I've got it on my backlog of games that I want to go do another playthrough of. I really liked this game. It was very much had a feeling of Super Metroid to it. It had really awesome 16-bit music. I can't remember it in my head, but I remember someone, when we were talking about video game music, someone mentioned it. I'm like, oh yeah, it did. And I went back and listened to some of the music on like YouTube. I was like, oh yeah, the music in this game was great. So, and I often say that I don't often pay attention that much to music until recently, because I've had so many people on my channel who are big video game music nuts. So I've been trying to pay attention to it more, and going back to listen to some of the music. I'm like, yeah, this game had really good music. The one thing that, for the most part, didn't bother me, but typically this aspect in games, because it's become a pretty popular thing over the last few years, when you die, you lose all your equipment and you have to go back to where you died to get it again. It did have that, but I think the way that they handled it was a little bit better than some of the other games that do that, so it wasn't that big of an issue for me. Although a lot of the times you have to go back. You respawn, you have to go back and get your stuff. In this game, lore-wise at least, your character actually dies, and it's another soldier who comes in and picks up from where you left off by gathering your equipment. But yeah, if anyone hasn't played Mummy Demastered, I do recommend it, and it's one of those great movie-based games, even though it really has almost nothing to do with the movie it's based on, other than it shares the same name, and there is a mummy in it, but it was a great game. So that was my number 5.
There's something you should add about when you die in that game too. Not only do you have to go back and get your equipment, but you have to fight the previous soldier, and he has the weapons that you lost.
That's right. I forgot about that. Oh, and
I'm definitely check that out.
Dude saying that now that I'm on Metagamer Score, I need to play the PlayStation stack.
Nice.
If there's a PlayStation stack of Mummy Demastered, he's got to be talking about something else, because I'll have to check it out. But if there's another stack for it, I'd be happy to play it. And Paul is saying that I think Shadow Complex gained the popularity because this was Cliffy B's first game after Gears of War. That's right, it was epic.
I believe so too.
I forgot about that. So, all right. So number 4, Mario, why don't you start off with your number 4?
Sure. My number 4 is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
I'm so glad that made someone's list, because
there's definitely some recency bias there. I played it last month, so that's when it came out. But I loved it. I loved basically everything about it. And to be fair, this is the only Prince of Persia game I've ever played, so I can't compare it to the previous games in the franchise. But I love that they decided to go in this direction for a revival of the franchise, and they clearly put a lot of work into like making it fit very closely in the Metroidvania genre, and adding all sorts of quality of life tweaks, like being able to take screenshots on the map.
That was a cool innovation.
Yeah, and you can, all the traversal mechanics are really fun. And the combat is really snappy and well balanced, and it just looks beautiful.
Okay, yeah, I am really glad that made the list somewhere, because I played the demo, really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to playing it, and yeah, it's really pretty. I'm sure that once I play it, it's probably gonna be on my list of top Metroidvanias. as well. So I'm glad to hear that. 'Cause I've heard, like, yeah, I've heard from people who have actually played it that it was a really good game. Similar, I've not played. The only Prince of Persia game I played was, I think it was 2008. It was the cell shaded one, and it wasn't. I don't think it was bad. I enjoyed it, but I don't have the nostalgia for the franchise as most people do. But you know, when this Lost Crown got announced, people were hating on it because they're like, "This isn't Prince of Persia." So I never had that hate for it either, just because I don't really have any nostalgia for the franchise. I was hooked the moment I saw it. I'm glad that it's been doing so well. I'm very much looking forward to playing it.
So I'm happy that it's on your list, but I'm also sad because, like I said, I've played not very much of it, and now I'm gonna have to finish it, and I don't have very much time to play on some of those games. So that's really, really cool. But yeah, I the same thing. Like, I don't understand why people were like hating on the game, because like if you play the original Prince of Persia, it wasn't the Sands of Time. It wasn't those. It literally was it was a computer game that you ran and you did, traversal and all that kind of stuff. So when those people are like, "Oh, this is not nostalgic to me," it's like, well, no, this is kind of as close as it's going to get to the original Prince of Persia, not just the Sands of Time that we had during like the PlayStation 2 and all that kind of stuff.
A lot of the haters were nostalgic for Sands of Time, which is fair because that's another classic in its own right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it, but I've never played that one, so I can't compare anything to it. So, Jason, why don't you give us your number 4?
So my number 4, it took me a while to figure out why this would. I know why it was my number 4, but I didn't think it was a Metroidvania. But my number 4 is Dead Cells.
Okay, I argue heavily that it is not a Metroidvania.
I do too, but if you look up Dead Cells, it literally says it's a Metroidvania.
Many people consider it. I do not, though.
So, I was going like
game.
It's a great game, and it wasn't going to go on my list. But then I that's what I was doing a lot of research. So the game I've been playing a lot as of late has been Dead Cells again, to figure out how and why it is a Metroidvania, and I finally figured out why it is. So yes, it is a roguelike game. The only reason why it can be considered a Metroidvania is because the abilities that you can get as you progress during the game, and then when you die, you are getting like abilities that can make stuff like grow. If you don't have that earlier on, you can't do that earlier. The teleporting stones, you have to get that later on to do that too. So there are abilities later in the game that you can go back at the beginning of the game to get extra weapons, be stronger, and all that kind of stuff. So in that aspect, yes, you are getting further in the game and then have to backtrack. And then also by dying, you also get the extra, things to buy extra weapons or create extra things. So yes, I guess it is a Metroidvania, but I 100% agree that as I was looking it up and playing, I'm like, why is this one? Does this count? And as I was kept playing this week or the last couple weeks, I'm like, I guess it is, but I'm with you 100%. Like, this is a real, I don't know. I like to know your guys' aspect. I'm glad, Nerdy, you had the same idea that I had. But yeah, as I was been playing, I'm like, yeah, I guess it is one. But I had the same reaction. Like, why, huh?
I see it listed on Metroidvania lists often. I did play it for a few minutes just earlier this week. But in my opinion, the main reason why I don't think it qualifies as a Metroidvania, although it's very, very close, you are right that it does have ability gating, but the fact that you can't like go back, you can only go forward. In order to go back, you have to die and start from the beginning again. So you can't freely explore an interconnected world. If you go, through one path, you can't then go back to a different path. And that's why, I don't believe it's a Metroidvania, but I know many people do. So, but yeah.
I would say
list, so
not quite a Metroidvania. It is a fantastic game, though.
And that's what's weird. Like, if you type in, like, if you type in Dead Cells on Google on everything, it literally says it's a Metroidvania. That's what, like, I didn't want to put on list, but like it said that, and then I was talking to friends and I was playing. I'm like, yeah, I love this game. I played it so much, and I had to do a bunch of research again to play it. And I'm like, I guess this is why it qualifies. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those weird situations. I do see where you guys are coming from, though.
It's in the state of limbo between
It is. It's
Metroidvanias
weird.
and
Yeah.
other genres. Because
Yeah,
Metroidvania
it's weird.
is not, it's basically like a subgenre, so it's
Mhm.
not really, solidly defined. Even in our Metroidvania channel, we're constantly debating
It's so much
whether
fun to argue about what games are Metroidvanias and what aren't.
exactly. We're constantly debating what is or isn't, and whether it's a high fit for the genre or a low fit.
I shared a meme just today, I think, that said The Emperor's New Groove is a Metroidvania.
I saw that. I think it was a screenshot of a Twitter post saying, "What movie is a Metroidvania?" They're like, "Emperor's New Groove," because he loses all of his abilities and he gets stronger, and then at the end, once he beats it, he has no clothes or something. Obviously a reference to Metroid. So that was a great post. But cool. All right. And DJ, what is your number 4?
It's been mentioned already, but
I just wanted to say real quickly.
Oh.
Kate stopped in. Hey, what's up, Kate? You're probably not here anymore, but you're probably busy with the stream over there on your channel. But glad you could hop in, just say hi, and I hope you enjoy the VOD afterwards.
Yeah, word.
Go for it.
Okay, so it's been mentioned already, but my number 4 is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I like Blind Forest, just again for the same reasons Jason mentioned. Both games are beautiful. They have an amazing art style. The first one has a really touching story. The second one, it hits a little bit less hard, but it's still good. I just really liked what Will of the Wisps did to improve on the formula compared to Blind Forest. The traversal abilities, the combat is just night and day between the two games. Like, they actually made combat really fun in the second game. I still don't think I finished it. I need to, but it's definitely on the bucket list to go back and get everything in. It was a great game for like the 80% of it that I finished when I had the chance. So definitely my number 4.
Okay, cool. All right. So for my number 4, another thing I wanted to mix it up is between 3D and 2D Metroidvanias, because not often, but a number of times on my channel, I don't know if ranted is quite the word, but I have exclaimed my disappointment in our lack of 3D Metroidvanias, because there are not a lot of them. So I often mention this as one of the few 3D Metroidvanias that we've gotten, especially on Xbox. There's not a lot of them. Just in general, there are not very many of them, because the last, Metroid Prime was basically the beginning of 3D Metroidvanias, and we had 3 of them in a few years. We've had very few since. So one that I have greatly enjoyed, it was on Game Pass, it left, and it has co-op, and myself, I don't know if Mario ever did, but I sure put a few people through the co-op, and it is one that I cannot recommend enough, is Journey to the Savage Planet. It's got a great art style. It's probably one of the closest games we've ever gotten to Metroid Prime since Metroid Prime. It's got a very kooky, comedic style to it. There's goofy animals. There's these birds that you kick and they explode, and you have to use them to solve some puzzles. You get cool upgrades. It's not terribly long. The speedrun achievement, I think, is for like beating it under 2 hours. And it's got solo, and you can do it in co-op. It's a great, fun game, and I love Journey to the Savage Planet. And if there's anyone out there who has it on Xbox and wants help getting the co-op, because there's an achievement for beating it solo, and there's an achievement for beating it in co-op. The co-op achievement is actually a lower ratio on Xbox than the solo. More people have done the co-op version than solo, which is very rare for multiplayer achievements. Usually multiplayer achievements, if there's like one for doing something with more people and something for doing it solo, usually the solo one is much lower ratio because more people have it. But because a bunch of us before it was leaving Game Pass, I think I Sherped like 3 or 4 people through it. But one of my buddies, he Sherped probably like 20 or 30 people through it. So there's actually more people who have the co-op one. But I'm happy to help people get that achievement. I tried it. So like I said, Mario is number 1 on the Xbox leaderboards. Number 2, his name is Jay Huns. He actually wanted to be here tonight, but the timing didn't work out for him. we did a run probably last summer, and we ran into a glitch, so we weren't able to actually launch the spaceship at the end and leave the planet. So, but it was fun regardless because it had been a while since I played it. We'll have to do another run. Jay Huns, if you happen to be watching it, let's do it again. But yeah, anyone out there who wants to play Journey to the Savage Planet and co-op, let me know. I'm happy to do it. I love that game, and I would love to see a sequel to it, but I think the studio shut down or got bought out or something, so it's highly unlikely that we'll see a studio. But if you... one thing that was cool is they released a Series X version of the game called the Employee of the Month Edition, and you get the free upgrade, and it's an actually separate achievement stack. So if you have the original one, you can automatically get the new one for free. So
I may hit you up for help with the co-op in that stack, the Employee of the Month Edition.
Okay. I haven't started that one yet because that's in my backlog for once I start a bunch of new games. But once I do, I'm happy to help people through the co-op version of that one because the achievements are literally exactly the same as the first version. It's just better resolution, higher frame rates. So I would be happy to help you out with that. So, all right. Dude saying Prime 3 is barely a Metroidvania. What? Get out of here with that. It is too.
So you made a good point right there. So out of everybody that's here, are you guys more like, obviously 2D is more prevalent, but are you guys more of a 2D or a 3D? If you had to choose, if one came out next year and it was, would you rather be 2D or 3D? Or 2.5D?
I would say 3
how
just
good the map
because
is.
I would say 3 just because we have so few.
Okay.
If the 3D one doesn't have a good map, I'll pass.
That's a good point though. Yeah, if it has a terrible map, there was one something recently. I remember a lot of people were complaining about the map. Does that ring any bells, Mario?
Not sure.
Okay, I remember it may not even have been a 3D one, but I remember not that long ago there was something that a lot of people were complaining about. The map was terrible. But yeah, that's another thing, kind of along the Dead Cells thing. I know a lot of people reference Dark Souls, which I also don't consider Metroidvanias, but I could see how you do. That's mainly a map thing, not necessarily an ability gating thing, because I don't think you get any new abilities that let you reach new areas, but there is a very interconnected map that's very Metroidvania-like.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, on to our number 3. I'll go ahead and start us off for number 3 because it's a game that's been mentioned a couple times already. My number 3 is Shadow Complex. I love that game. Like I said, it kicked off the summer of arcade, which I think was the first one they did. It kind of reinvigorated the genre, in my opinion, because we hadn't really seen very many Metroidvanias in that time. And since then, we've gotten tons of them. And yeah, the whole spy aspect was really cool. Oh, one thing that I haven't mentioned yet, but I have mentioned it on a number of streams, is that when it comes to 2D Metroidvanias, there are so many of them that are, pixel art, which I don't have anything against pixel art, but if you were to group them by art style and how many are pixel art versus non-pixel art, I'd say probably like 80% of modern Metroidvanias are all pixel art. So another thing that I love is playing a 2D Metroidvania that is not pixel art, and Shadow Complex has really great graphics and was a really good looking game. It still is. So that was another thing that really had a point going for it for me, is that it does not look, it's not a pixel art game. It's good graphics. Actually, I'm going to mention that later. But yeah, 2D Metroidvanias that are not pixel art always have that may not make them better, but when I'm looking into them, it definitely bumps it up a little bit in my book.
I'll say that any 2.5D Metroidvanias to me are better. Like the way they look, the art style is just so great. Like when the background is in the back and it looks like you're on a 3D plane, but you're just moving left to right. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love them. Like, and then you could do so much with the shading, with the lighting, and all that kind of stuff. Those to me, like, okay, I see that. I'm going to want to play that one over, something else.
Yeah, as DJ mentioned earlier, you get like basically this cool this mech super suit and lots of cool guns. And one of the great thing is that if you find all 50 gold bars, you unlock basically all the guns from the beginning, so you don't have to wait to get to the end of the game to get the best guns. So that was cool. But yeah, the suit of armor that you get in that game is really cool. It has some really great movement abilities. So yeah. Jason, what is your number 3?
Mine's going to be easy because it was mentioned as already. We're going to go Symphony of the Night. So yeah, fantastic game. I loved it on the PlayStation. Loved not knowing that I didn't beat the game the first time I beat the game, knowing that I had to get a Game Pro not too long ago to figure out like, oh, this is how you beat the game. And then you're like, what? I have to do what? And then having to do that. Again, thank you for my subscription to Game Pro and all that stuff, because yes, I would have had this game, beat it, and be like, okay, cool. And then not knowing that I actually beat it.
Please don't spoil 30-year-old games.
Yep. Get a Game Pro magazine to beat Symphony of the Night. That's all I can say in the year 2024. Don't worry about Google or anything like that. But yeah, it's a great game. Yes, now looking back at it, some of the things could be better, but again, it was a PlayStation game. It looked great. It sounded great. Added things to the games. It added a bunch of extra nice little, quick, traveling and all that kind of stuff that we didn't expect to have. It just added so much to it to make the game just so good.
Yeah, many people it's often at the top of people's Metroidvania lists. I mean, heck, it's part of the reason why the genre is called what it is.
Exactly.
So, and I forgot to say, my friend JT, who I'm going to be on his channel tomorrow night, but hop in the chat. What's up, JT? Oh yeah, there it is. Can't wait to have you on tomorrow. So, and no, Paul, no one has mentioned it yet. So I don't know if it's on anyone's list, but no one has mentioned it yet. But that is a good game. So, all right, DJ, what is your number 3?
All right. My number 3 is actually a fan game, and it's AM2R.
I had a feeling that's what you were going to say.
And I will say, if it wasn't for AM2R, we never would have got Nintendo to make that official Metroid Return, like the official like Metroid 2 remake they did years and years later.
Samus Returns on 3DS?
Yeah, they would never have made that if it weren't for, the people making AM2R. And even though the proper development has stopped on it, the fans have basically taken over, and they've still been adding like quality of life fixes to the game since then. Just a fantastic, old school 2D Metroid game, kind of in that same vein of like Zero Mission and Fusion. So it's like got the very tight like wall jumps, like Samus's movement in that game is almost better than it is in the official games. Almost. It's just great. Like the difficulty, the length of the game, like I really can't think of anything I could critique on that. Like they just really knocked it out of the park for a fan game.
Nice. I have not played it, but I have downloaded it, and I haven't played the entirety of it. I played like the first hour of it, and I did like it. I watched Nerdporio Lifeform stream it a while ago, so I saw a good chunk of the game. I've only played a little bit of it, but I'm definitely looking forward to playing it at some point, because I never played the original Metroid or Metroid 2 or Samus Returns, because it's only on 3DS, and I've never had a 3DS, so I've not played any form of Metroid 2. I have played Zero Mission, so I have played basically Nintendo's remake of the first one,
right?
But I've never played Metroid 2, so I'm very much looking forward to playing that. So if anyone doesn't know about AM2R, which is short for Another Metroid 2 Remake, it is a fan-made game, and you can get it for free online. So go check that out if you are interested in playing a free, excellent fan-made remake of Metroid 2. So, all right. And I think, Mario, we've not touched on your number 3, I don't believe.
That's right. I'm the last number 3. My number 3 is Hollow Knight.
Okay. I figured that'd be on somebody's list.
Yeah, it's been hugely popular in the several years since it's come out. It's driven a lot of imitators, I think, in the last several years. It's got very tight combat, a beautiful, open, large world, and very nice, difficult combat. The combat is kind of hard, so that might turn it off for some of the more casual people who like this genre, but it's a fantastic game.
Yeah, I know that is often when I'm looking at lists. That is often at the top of people's lists. So I figured someone had to have mentioned it
Yeah.
today. It is.
And again, like the combat is hard, but it shouldn't make people that aren't like into this, into this genre. It takes just a few minutes, and I shouldn't say minutes, but it takes a couple of hours just to get used to it and just used to the gameplay. But like, yeah, if you've never played it and you're in this chat or anything like that, play it. It looks beautiful. It sounds great. It's a really good game.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, I've played a chunk of it. I'm not a huge fan of it. I know everyone's like rants and raves about it. I have not been really able to get into it because every time I play it, I'm like, I'm not really enjoying this. But I will get through it at some point. Just it's not up there for me, so it did not make my list.
It is one of the easier games to get lost in, part
Mhm.
because you need to find the map guy who sells maps in each region.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about it when I get to my number one, because my number one, I think it does a lot of the things that Hollow Knight did that I didn't care for better. So, and we had my buddy Vanquish hopping in. Hail, Vanquish. Good to see you, buddy. And shout out to Dude. He made the achievement set for the first two Metroid games on Retro Achievements. So awesome. Nice. I think I have those on my to play list for Retro Achievements. So if anyone wants to go back and play, old platforms games with achievements, go check out Retro Achievements. You can friend me. You can friend DJ. I know he's on there. You can friend Dude. He's developed a number of achievement sets for that. So shout out to Dude. All right, and we're on to our number two. So we'll kind of go, since you finished the last one, Mario, why don't you kick us off for this one? What's your number two?
Okay. My number two is Ori and the Blind Forest.
Okay.
Although I think I may have to, can I give it to both Ori games?
Yeah, Jason did, so you can definitely.
They did this. It counts.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of that is because I played Ori and the Blind Forest 3 times and Will of the Wisps only once.
That's because there are 3 achievement stacks for Blind Forest, but there's only 1 achievement stack for Will of the Wisps on Xbox.
Yeah.
Well, not even technically on Xbox, because one of them is on Switch.
Yeah, I borrowed my brother's Switch to play that.
When I get a Switch, I'll definitely be playing the Blind Forest again. Although I have, because I played the definitive edition, I have the non-definitive edition, but I have not played it yet. So I know that they made some nice quality of life improvements in the definitive version that are not in the original one. So it's almost kind of like taking a step back. But then I'll be playing the definitive edition again on the Switch when at some point.
Yeah, but I love the beautiful world and the feeling of being just this little guy trying to get by. And you never become super powerful, but you become very capable and able to hold your own and move through the world safely.
Cool. Excellent. Good pick. And I am very glad to see that you put that over Hollow Knight. That warms my soul.
I think it should, and personally too. Hollow Knight is great, but like if you play Ori, I agree with you. Like you just become able to get by, and that's what's so beautiful about the story in the world is like, yeah, you're not gonna run through everything. You're just gonna make it to the end, and that's all you need to do for the character that you're playing as with the story going on.
Oh, I did want to say one more thing about Hollow Knight.
Definitely,
Hollow Knight has the charm system where you have the notches. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but you have notches that you unlock, and you can insert charms into them to change your gameplay style and get perks. And I'm not sure if that's the game that came up with that. I don't remember that system being in any other Metroidvanias before that.
Yeah, that's a good.
But it's been in all the big ones since then, and I'm wondering if we can give that the credit for it.
I would, I'd have to do some research, but I would guess that Hollow Knight, if they didn't innovate that, they definitely popularized it. That's for sure.
And that gives I give it a lot of credit for that too, which is part of my ranking. So.
It's been a while since I played Blind Forest, but I absolutely know. I'm pretty sure Will of the Wisp had that. I know Lost Crown, Prince of Persia had that. I
Blasphemous also.
Blasphemous, that's right. Blasphemous had it. I think Ender Lilies had it as well. It's become a very popular gameplay mechanic, definitely. All right. Jason, you want to give us your? We're on number 2, right?
Yeah, we're at number 2. So this one, my number 1 was easy for me, but this was an easy number 2 for me. But yeah, Super Metroid.
Right.
I didn't think it could get better, and it's weird to say it that way, but like the Super Nintendo, obviously my favorite system. But the abilities you get, things you can do. I mean, Samus doing everything that she was able to do in the first one, but just to an extent, the level design, the gameplay, the bosses, the story, able to save the animals, as weird as it sounds, but like as we look at that and everything like that, where Metroid is, or the Metroids are like, a parasite, do saving the animals, bring doom and gloom to the rest of the world, all that kind of stuff. Like there's so many little things in the game. Obviously the ending of the game, especially if you played ones prior to and all that stuff. Like, I mean, you never think that the end of a Super Nintendo game like that, where you're just playing as Samus, you're like, oh wow. Like, I don't know. It's so much. It comes to like a time where you don't want to remake a Super Metroid, but like it would be really, really cool to kind of have more of a story. Yeah.
Just the same game, but with better graphics would be amazing.
Like a Metroid Dread style version of Super Metroid, I don't even know what I would do. I don't know. It's such a great game, great gameplay. Again, I can just say the same things over again, but like the abilities, the power-ups, everything you need in the game makes sense for what you need to do in the time you need to do it.
Yeah,
it's just great.
A Metroid Prime remaster, but for Super Metroid, I think that would sell like hotcakes.
Oh, 100%.
Although the one thing that is criminal is that of like Nintendo's major properties, Metroid is always the one that does the worst, which it sucks because in my opinion, it's Nintendo's best property.
I agree.
But yeah, I know if Nerdporial was on the panel, he would be there with you. Although that's his number 1. So shout out to Nerdporial. Let's see here. Is it to me? DJ, did you give us your number 2 yet?
I did not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So my number.
Sorry. One more thing to touch on Super Metroid, because the original Metroid was an NES game. Metroid 2 was a Game Boy game. Then Super Metroid is the third one, was on a Super Nintendo. And going from a Game Boy game to Super Nintendo, talk about like an evolution of what you came to expect from a Metroid game. So like I said, I never played it when it was new. I played it many years later. But if you were playing the franchise up to that point, that game just had to be like mind blowing, like, and how much it expanded on the formula that they built with the first 2 games.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry to interrupt you, DJ. I just wanted to.
No, it's all good. You're gushing about Super Metroid. I mean, that's probably my favorite Metroidvania, but I'm not going to stop. I just Okay, my number 2 is Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Okay.
It was almost my number 1. It was a very close race between that and the number 1. I played Symphony of the Night when it was still brand new, almost, on original PlayStation. The thing I love about the game isn't just the nostalgia for it. It's the evolution of techniques that speedrunners have found. That the game is highly exploitable, and I think that's what makes for a really, really fun Metroid experience if you can sequence break, if you can basically cheat the system. You don't have to go crazy. I mean, you can in Castlevania or in Symphony of the Night. You can completely get out of the castle and have like a weird percentage amount, like a completion percent, like go over 100% because you like glitched outside the castle walls. But you don't have to do that. I mean, there's other things you can do, like the I think it's like shield hopping. I can't remember what the technique is called, but there's just some insane skills people have come up with that game in the past like 20 years since it's come out, and it just keeps getting more interesting. But I just love the atmosphere of it. Playing as Alucard finally. I mean, you played him in Castlevania 3, but that was a different style of Castlevania. So this is like it's like his own game. You don't the Belmont isn't the main character anymore. This time it's the vampire.
Yeah, because up till Symphony of the Night, all the Castlevania games were just action platformers, right?
Yeah, Right, they were all action platformers, and for the most part, you would play as a Belmont, or you would play as characters that were like Belmont adjacent, like in Castlevania Bloodlines. Neither of the characters in that are actual Belmonts, but one of them has the vampire killer, so it's close enough in that regard. So this is just one where it's like you're not even playing as a Belmont as the main character. You don't unlock Richter until like as like an afterthought, like after you finish the game. But just all of the secrets in the game, not even knowing that half the game is locked behind a boss fight. And then even when you get to the inverse castle, like you still have to collect, certain items to get to the proper final boss. It's just so much. Like I could, if it's one of those games that if I was on a desert island, like I could play that over and over and over again.
Okay. Yeah. I played it once and I just went back because the first time I played it was the Xbox 360 arcade version. So I definitely didn't play it any time when it was new. And I went back and looked at my achievements to see when I played it, and I played through it in 2016. So it wasn't even that long ago. I do plan to play it again. I'm going to try and see because it has a Japanese stack on Xbox. So I'm going to try and see if I can do that. If not, I'll definitely be playing probably the PlayStation version via retro achievements. Because that got an entirely different set of achievements. But I am looking forward to playing it again because I only vaguely remember it because nothing against the game. It was a good game. But I often say that when it comes between like sci-fi or fantasy, and in this case, Metroid versus Castlevania, I'll take sci-fi 9 times out of 10 over fantasy. So that's why I much gravitate towards the Metroid side of the genre than the Castlevania.
Yeah, same.
The Symphony of the Night is one of only 2 Castlevania games I've ever even played. The only other one I played is not even a Metroidvania, is a hack and slash, because I really like hack and slash genre, is the Lords of Shadow game. Oh, yeah. I have the second one, but I haven't played it yet. Really liked that game, and I did 100% the first Lords of Shadow, but not a Metroidvania game. So I don't really have a whole lot of love for the Castlevania franchise, as due to saying the lack of love for Aria of Sorrow is disturbing. I will be playing it because there's I don't know which ones they are, but there's the Castlevania Advance collection, which has 3 Castlevania games that were on Game Boy Advance, and they were all Metroidvanias. I have that, but I have not played it yet. I'm pretty sure Aria of Sorrow is one of them, so I will be playing it at some point.
That one has Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance, and Dawn of Sorrow.
Oh, Dawn
does
of
not
Sorrow.
Have Aria. Yeah, and I do agree with dude. Aria is a really good Metroidvania. I would say that one probably ties with Symphony of the Night as far as how good it is. It's just Symphony I have the nostalgia for. Otherwise, I would have put Aria in its place.
Nice. Yeah, and that goes not to shill our show, but that just goes to show, dude, how hard it is to make a top 5. Like anybody can make a top 10 and just throw it on there, but like when it comes down to the nitty gritty, like these are your 5 games. Like that for sure is yours, but like Aria of Sorrow was a great game, but like the games that I named, I can't put it over the games that I named so far, and I'm assuming that goes for Nerd Neo, Mario, and DJ Axis. Like it's a great game, but like it can't beat it. Like it'll go, I'm sure it goes number 8, number 9 on the list, but like top 5 now.
Yeah, it's like when I asked Mario if he wanted to be on this stream, and it's like, hey, you're gonna have to pick your top 5 favorites, and he sent me a GIF of saying, "I love all my children equally." So yeah, it's definitely that Sophie's choice of like, you got to cut something because it's only top 5, and there's so many good things to choose from. So that's a perfect segue for my number 2, because this was a really difficult choice for me. So like I said earlier, I'm limiting myself to one Metroid game. And if you've been around my channel for a bit, you probably already know what my answer is for numbers 2 and number 1. But for number 2, it was a pick between different Metroid games, and it was really tough because it was between Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime 2. A lot of people don't like Metroid Prime 2. I really, really loved Metroid Prime 2. And it wasn't like I ever had, because a lot of people didn't like it almost right off the bat because of the whole dark world and you're constantly taking damage. I never disliked it. It just took me a while to warm up to it. But after a while, It's really, really, really close. But in the end, I did go ahead and pick Metroid Prime 1. I was weighing them today, trying to figure out which one do I choose, because there are so many things I do love about Metroid Prime 2. I didn't physically write out a pros and cons list, but I did in my head. And I did have to go with Metroid Prime 1 as my number 2 and my all-time favorite Metroid game. They are all of the ones that I've played. I don't think the one Metroid game I did not care for and I never did finish because I couldn't figure out where to go was Metroid Prime Hunters on the DS. I'm not sure that it's a bad game. I just could not figure out where to go. But I can't say anything bad about any of the Metroid games I've played. They've all been great, and I've liked all of them. Some of them maybe a little less than others, but I have enjoyed all of them. So I can't say there are any bad Metroid games. And when I say that, Federation Force does not count as a Metroid game, so I'm not counting that one. Otherwise, that would be obviously the black sheep of the family, but it's not a Metroid game, so that doesn't count. But yeah, I did have to go with Metroid Prime. It was arguably the very first 3D, if not first-person shooter Metroidvania. It felt so much like the Metroid franchise, but in a 3D space. I think they converted it to 3D like perfectly. Really, my only gripe against Metroid Prime is the music in the Phase on Mines is so terrible that I usually put it on mute when I go through that area. Other than that, I literally could not find anything to gripe about on Metroid Prime 1, where I could find a few things to gripe about in Metroid Prime 2. But I really, really hope that someday we get Metroid Prime 4 because I'm very much... That would make me be, the, oh my God, like people in the front row of a concert. That would probably have that effect on me if we ever get any news about a Metroid Prime 4. So that was my number 2. So
if I have to guess, we'll probably, whenever the new Switch gets announced, that's when Metroid Prime 4 is going to be on that one.
That's what I've said a lot recently because there's been a lot of rumors about a Switch 2. I hope they call it a Super Nintendo Switch.
Super Switch would be great.
Super Switch, Super Nintendo Switch, whatever they end up calling it. My prediction is that Prime 4 is going to be a launch title for it, and that would get me to buy a Switch day one because I don't have a Switch to this day. I have a couple of Switch games. I still don't have a Switch, but that may be changing in the next couple of weeks because, I'll get to that in a little bit. Because that ties into one of the other points. Not one of the other ones on my list, but one of the other points I want to touch on after we get through our number ones. So let me just say hi to chat again. Mental nicing. I couldn't get out of the first screen in Cryo Gear. Dude saying, Federation Force wouldn't be hated if Metroid wasn't in a coma as a franchise at the time. Triforce Heroes was fine because Zelda was still thriving. Totally makes sense. Oh, yeah, and Vanquish, sorry to skip that. To my wife, Nerdy Neo is known as the Metroidvania guy. Yes. Anytime he's watching me and his wife comes by, he's like, hey, is that the Metroidvania guy? It's like, yep, that's him. And he also never played the original Metroid games. He did beat Metroid Fusion on Game Boy Advance a few times. That's a good game. My biggest complaint about that is that it's too hand-holdy, but still a great game. And he enjoyed Dread. So before we get to our number ones, I want to go around and give some of our honorable mentions, games that were really close to making your list, but not quite. So for me, a couple of honorable mentions for me was Arkham Asylum, Guacamelee 1. I liked both Guacamelees, but I like Guacamelee 1 quite a bit better than 2. And as I was saying, we don't have enough 3D first-person Metroidvanias. Another one is Superland, was a great puzzle first-person Metroidvania. So I definitely recommend that one. Since we've had such a lack of Star Wars games, I thought Star Wars Fallen Order was a pretty good game as well. And it's definitely the best thing we've gotten from Disney Star Wars, that's for sure. I've not played Survivor yet, so I can't say anything about that, but Fallen Order for me. So what are some of your guys' runners-up, honorable mentions that didn't quite make your list?
Well, I did finish my list down to number 10.
Okay.
Most of those have already been mentioned, except Blasphemous 2. I actually ranked Blasphemous 2 higher than the original Blasphemous.
Okay.
That was sitting at number 8.
There you go. Paul, there's your Blasphemous mention. I have not played Blasphemous 2 yet, so I can't say anything, but I did enjoy Blasphemous.
It's got a little bit more of the traversal gating than the original did.
That was my biggest complaint about Blasphemous, is that you could literally beat the game with no upgrade. The ability, there was no ability gating. All of the gating was literally through like gates and switches. The only thing you really needed those abilities for was to get 100% completion to collect all the items. So that was my biggest gripe, but it was a good game.
Yeah, but I wanted to give a shout out to a couple lesser known Metroidvanias instead of just saying which ones were almost made the list, because we've already been talking about all of those. I wanted to shout out Curse of the Sea Rats.
Okay. I've not heard a whole lot about it yet.
Yeah, it's from a relatively like a minor studio. The biggest thing that this studio did was making the Peppa Pig games.
I do like the art style of the Curse of the Sea Rats.
Yeah, and it is well designed. It's got a few bugs in it, and currently there is an unobtainable achievement in it.
I did not know that.
But I think I recommend it, at least if it's on sale, because it's got solid combat, good art style, and it's well made. It's well made overall. And I also wanted to shout out Outbuddies DX, which is it's kind of a Metroid clone. It's very similar to Metroid in like ambiance and a lot of the upgrades too. It is pretty janky because it was developed by one guy over the course of 7 years. Yeah.
Just like
and once if you're similar to Axiom Verge, if you're okay with getting used to like the weird controls and design choices, the map is very weird, and you only have 5 hit points at all times throughout the game. But one cool thing that it does is it has asymmetrical co-op, where you can have a second player play as your robot drone guy who can like go around and interfere with enemies and pick up health items for you.
Okay. I think they did the same thing in Axiom Verge too.
Okay. Normally like you just control it with the right stick or whatever, but you can have a second player plug in another controller and play as that. And I like that game a lot. I wrote the walkthrough for it on TA, and I wanted to raise some attention to it.
He knows the Outbuddies very well. He wrote the whole walkthrough for it. So if you're playing it on Xbox and you look for the Outbuddies walkthrough, it's written by this guy.
Yeah. And one more is my almost mention, because it is definitely not a Metroidvania, but it could have been, is Alien Isolation.
Oh, interesting.
Because the game takes place on a big space station. You're exploring different parts of it, and you get different tools along the way that you can use to open up different passageways, except it's told in a chapter by chapter format, so you can't backtrack from one chapter to another, even though in a later chapter you're in the same area as you were. Like in chapter 11 you're in the same area as in chapter 4, but you can't explore the map freely. And if they'd had the courage to just have the whole map be open and be gated by these different things that you need the tools for, it would have felt a lot more like a Metroidvania. And I just wanted to call attention to that.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I've never played. I played it for like 5 minutes for a Game Pass quest one time, and I was scared out of mind because that game was like one of the scariest looking games, especially if you ever play it in VR. I don't think you can find a scarier game than that.
That's the one where if you if you were talking and the Kinect heard you, then the alien would hear you.
That's right.
And it would come and get you.
You have to be quiet in your actual room, so don't bother playing that with like kids around. The alien will always know where you are. And I do know that how they designed the AI for that game was pretty ingenious, where there's basically like 2 brains, one that always knows where you are and one that doesn't, and the one that always knows where you are is feeding hints to the one that doesn't. And it learns from what you do, and that's how it learns like your patterns and stuff. So the AI that went into that game is quite fascinating. So I'm really glad that game doesn't have the Metroidvania tag, because I don't have any plan to play that game. And if it did have the Metroidvania tag, I would have to play it. And I'm really glad I don't. I don't typically do scary stuff, but if there was scary stuff I was going to do, sci-fi horror is I'm more okay with, so I would still do it, but I wouldn't. I don't know how much I'd enjoy it. So cool. Before we get off that, one thing, kind of in the vein of what Mario was just talking about, like almost a Metroidvania, but not quite. And one of my all-time favorite games, probably my top 3 favorite games of all time, Ninja Gaiden Black. The only thing, no one ever mentions this in a Metroidvania discussion except for me. I seriously don't know why it's not considered Metroidvania. It has a Metroidvania map. It does not have any ability gating, but there are other Metroidvanias like Blasphemous that don't have any ability gating that are considered Metroidvanias. Similar to Blasphemous, all of the progress is gated by like keys and locked doors and levers and stuff. So the only thing it has going against it that's not a Metroidvania, really, in my opinion, is the ability gating thing. But there are other games that don't do it and are considered Metroidvania. So in my book, I consider it a Metroidvania, and it's a phenomenal game. So that's kind of like my almost Metroidvania shout out as well.
I see that.
So, all right. So after our honorable mentions, we will get into our number 1 favorite Metroidvania of all time. So I'll go ahead and start this one off. As anyone who's been around my channel, like even a little bit of time, probably knows the answer because I mention it very often. My favorite is Ori and the Will of the Wisps, my favorite Metroidvania of all time. That's why I didn't talk about it much earlier, because it is my favorite Metroidvania. Both games are phenomenal, but there are so many things that they improved on in Will of the Wisps over Blind Forest that, for me, hands down, without a doubt, Will of the Wisps is a far superior game. There are people that prefer the first one. Obviously, to each their own. But like the biggest thing was the combat in the first game was kind of lacking. You have this little orb that follows you, and you just hit X, at least on Xbox, and you basically shoot little blasts to enemies that are nearby. And that's the extent of the combat. Many people, myself included, think that the game probably would have been better if they just gotten rid of the combat entirely and just made it a platforming Metroidvania. Still a great game. Both game. Go for it if you got something to say, Mario.
Well, yeah, I just want to say that in Blind Forest, the combat is more detailed than that. Like, it's more effective to use bash off of enemies and then like stomp them than to use the Spirit Blast.
Spirit Blast, yeah, that's right. You do get upgrades to make it better, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. But you only have the
especially at the beginning. Yeah, you're mashing X.
Yeah. You do get more ability, so definitely. But like, both games have phenomenally beautiful art style. I often mention the music is phenomenal. It's one of the very few games where I've ever gone outside the game. I went to YouTube just to listen to the soundtrack to these games. The music is so beautiful. It's got a very emotional, touching story. One of those few games that like kind of got me choked up. Both games really. There's very few things I can really say bad about either game, and everything that I had a complaint about on Blind Forest, they improved on in Will of the Wisps. Like, the combat was the biggest thing, because you get all these different types of weapons. They added, basically the charm system, because I don't think that was in the first one, but they added, so you can select all these different weapons, and you can kind of build your character as you want because of that charm system. I think probably one of the biggest complaints that most people had about Will of the Wisps is that there are a couple of boss fights. A lot of them, as they were in the first one, was just escape sequences. So it's just like very fast platforming. The only one I ever had a problem with was the very last one on Will of the Wisps on the hardest difficulty, because you had to be like pixel perfect in order to make it in time. I did hear that they released a patch later on that made it a little bit easier. But that's really the only thing that I can say bad about Will of the Wisps. I think it exceeds everything else in the genre, at least in a 2D sense, in basically every category. I cannot say enough good things about Will of the Wisps, and it is my favorite Metroidvania. And there are talks that there is going to be an Ori 3. There's rumors. However, it'll probably be a while, because just a few weeks ago at some event, the Moon Studios, who did Ori, announced their next game, and it's actually a completely different genre. But I'll be interested in checking it out. I forget what it's called, because there was a couple of different games that came out with very similar names.
Roguelite shooter, something. It's been announced.
Pull it up really quick, because there were a couple different games that came out that were announced during that whatever that was, that had very similar names. So let's see here. Stupid captchas always saying, "Hey, check this box to check that you're a real person." I hate that. Come on, load. Okay, No Rest for the Wicked is their next game. So very different than what we're expecting. I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out, but there are rumors that there will be an Ori 3, and I cannot wait for more news about a next Ori game. So that was my number one, which anybody who's been around my channel probably knew that's where I was going with it, but I can't wait to hear what all your guys' number ones are. So who wants to go next? All right, DJ.
Next.
Okay.
Jason, next.
Go for it.
All right. So, like I said, this one was extremely easy for me. It's going to be actually, I'm kind of surprised that a version of this game kind of got mentioned already, and some people have actually played it. Just background information on this one. I got this game at a random video game store. Obviously, I played Metroid, and I saw this game in a bag that was hanging for like $8 at the time, early in the 90s and all that kind of stuff like that. But Metroid 2 is my favorite Metroid game of favorite Metroidvania, favorite Metroid game of all time.
Interesting. Okay.
I have beaten this game I don't know how many times. This version is great too. Absolutely love this version as well. They did a great job on it, but this has just everything that you need to know. You have a corner of how many Metroids you need to destroy. You have the world just light out in front of you, and then you just go. There's no tricks. There's no this. Like, hey, many Metroids, go kill them. The world expands how many times you kill each Metroid. You get all these weapons. You get everything you need to go. You get extra jumps. You get extra sticky ball. You get extra bombs. You get all this kind of stuff, and you just go. And it's on the Game Boy of all places, so I'm bringing this thing with me every place I get a chance to go to as a kid. Yeah, I love this game. I said Metroid Samus Returns is great. I have it on my 3DS as well, but like, I wish it was not on the 3DS, as weird as it sounds. I wish I could actually play it in a bigger form, and it's weird to say because, like I said, the 3DS is a great system and everything like that. But like, yeah, no, this game I just absolutely love.
Okay. Yeah. When talking about favorite Metroidvanias, Metroid games are often up there, usually Super Metroid. I don't think I've ever heard anyone mention Metroid 2 as their favorite. So that's cool to see. The
reason why you probably don't is because it is a simpler game. Like I said, you have a bottom corner as a counter. You kill a Metroid, it goes down. You find the next one. You find, the egg hatch or whatever you see a hatch. You're like, okay, there's going to be around here somewhere. What abilities do I need to go up, down, left, or right? You find another one, do the same thing. You get, I forget the number right off the top of my head, but you get to a number. Next, they become Super Metroids in a way, and then they have extra abilities and do that kind of stuff. They take more missiles and all that kind of stuff. Then the water that hurts you or whatever, I can't remember what it is, but I call it the water. That goes down. Next, you have all this extra, room to traverse, and you have to come back up, realize, oh, cool, I got this, go on the way top there. And then, you get down to 0. And then again, not to spoil Super Metroid, but in Metroid 2, you find out why that happens in a way as well. So like, it is, I don't know, it's a great 2-3 punch in my opinion. And again, I just absolutely love this game.
Cool. Awesome.
Thank you, dude. Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and Omega Metroids. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. Yep. Yeah. Mental Knight saying, I did not see that coming. Yeah, I did not either. I don't think I've ever heard anyone mention Metroid 2 as their favorite. So cool. All right. Mario, you want to give us your number one?
Sure. Now's a good time for it because my number one is Super Metroid.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figured it'd be somebody's.
Yeah. And the fact that I haven't played it in maybe at least 25 years. It's the only thing on my list that's not on Xbox. But it is just so fantastic for reasons that have already been discussed by other people. I would say it's one of the best games of all time.
Yep.
Often mentioned in top games of all time. Since dude, you've seen him in chat, got me into retro achievements. That's on the top of my list for retro achievement games to go back and play again because it's been a very long, not that long, but it has been a very long time since I've played Super Metroid as well, and I definitely need to go back and play it again. And playing it for achievements makes it so much better. All right. And DJ, did he steal your thunder given what your avatar is?
Well, a little bit, but I mean, it's Super Metroid. What hasn't been said about it already? The thing is, I didn't get to say my honorable mentions, so I'm going to go through those first.
Shoot, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I'm going to omit every game that was mentioned already, maybe with the exception of Ender Lilies, because that's an honorable mention, and I do like that game.
I played that last year.
Yeah, so some other ones that haven't been mentioned at all tonight: Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, very good Metroid game. Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom. It's by the same developers who did the old Wonder Boy games, and this
good things about it, and that was actually January's Vayner of the Month.
Oh, it's good. It gets a little hard, but I think the difficulty is worth it. Very colorful graphics in that, and it's just a fun game. Gato, like a good game. Yeah, Gato Roboto is like a really short. It's like short and sweet to the point.
Yeah, we call it a micro Vayner.
Yeah, that one's good. It doesn't overstay its welcome. Astalon Tears of the Earth. I mentioned that earlier. Just played that earlier today. Cave Story. Again, classic.
Not on Xbox, so I don't know much about it, but I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, that's a lot of people's favorites. Environmental Station Alpha. It's kind
I've heard about that one too. That's not on Xbox either.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Outbuddies. It's like a very minimalistic Metroid-like or Metroidvania, but it's good for what it does.
Okay, Kay's there with you. Shantae, DJ gets it.
Yeah, Shantae gang rise up. Then another Metroid fan game called Metroid Planets. And at its surface, Metroid Planets is basically like a really pretty version of the original Metroid. So it adds a lot of like just effects, like better music, and like Samus's run cycle looks amazing in it. But in one of the other things that you can do is there's a randomizer that's like built into the game, and it doesn't just randomize the items. You can actually like play a randomly generated Metroid, like a whole game with rooms and everything. And you can even have like custom maps for it as well. So like people can like design their own Metroid ones to go through.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty expansive. There's actually like speedrunners that do it. And then the final honorable mention that I will never stop chilling for this game. It's a very difficult Metroidvania called Cathedral. Your main character, your main character looks like Shovel Knight. It's hard as balls, by the way. That game it almost made me rage quit the game as hard as it is, but it's fun. It's one of those games where it's like you finish it and you feel satisfied at the difficulty.
Okay.
The music in that is really good. Very like old school, like 8-bit style graphics and chiptune music. And I'm just leading up to my number one. I'm just delaying the inevitable. Of course, it's Super Metroid. Why wouldn't it be Super Metroid?
Well, last thing, Cathedral. When did that come out, and what is it on?
I'm not sure exactly what every system it's on, or every system it's on. Hang on, let me look up on Steam.
It is on Steam though.
Yeah, it is on Steam. It's been out for a couple of years. Let me see here, because I got it when it was pretty new. 2019.
Okay, so it's a pretty recent one too, and I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's really good. I only have one achievement left to get in the game, and it's an achievement called Damage Dodger. You have to finish the entire game with your base armor, and enemies in that game hit like bosses. So imagine like fighting a boss in that game where you die in like 1 to 2 hits. Yeah. It's brutal. That game is unforgiving, but it's fun. Okay. But yeah, my number one is of course Super Metroid. For all of the reasons listed previously, it's such a classic game. I played through it kind of recently on Steam, on emulator, but not just for the original game, because I mean, vanilla Super Metroid is already good in its own right, but if you've ever played like Super Metroid ROM hacks, it gets even better. My favorite is one that's called Project Base, and it upgrades the game without taking away what made Super Metroid great. So it improves the movement a little bit. It kind of makes Samus a little less floaty, and you can execute wall jumps a little bit more easily. Some of the power-ups are like made in like less obtuse locations. So it kind of streamlines the whole experience, but it's still like it's like playing Super Metroid, but just slightly different. Like it's remixed.
Okay. Kay is coming in saying that she believes that Cathedral is also on Switch and PS4.
Nice.
So, cool.
It's worth a play. But yeah, that game is merciless. So
it's definitely not on Xbox, because I would know about it if it was. And Mental Knife saying, I'm living in the wrong decade. It's cool. All right. Yeah, I figured that'd probably be yours. So, as it is many. But yeah, definitely a good game. And I need to go back and play it. And I'm looking forward to playing it via RetroArch and getting achievements. And Dude was saying that the hardest achievement in Super Metroid on Retro Achievements is the final escape speedrun, as the time frame is very short. So
yeah, he's not kidding.
Oh, have you done it?
I haven't done it yet. I think the harder one is you have to finish with like I think 2 minutes remaining or something. You cannot make a mistake on the escape sequence. If you stop once, you probably missed your time.
Okay, yeah, that sounds tight.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. That was awesome. I had a lot of fun with this. So, last thing before we go on to our last segment is wanted to ask each of you, what are some Metroidvanias that you're looking forward to playing? Doesn't have to be new, just something that maybe you haven't played in a really long time, or something that is new, or just something that's not new that you never got around to playing. What are some of the Metroidvanias that you're looking forward to playing?
So there's one that came out last week called Ultros. I've seen a lot of stuff about that one.
Yeah.
I'd never even heard of it until literally 10 minutes ago. I got a pop-up notification from the Reddit from the Metroidvania subreddit called Ultros, and I've never heard of it until literally 10 minutes ago.
I think it came out 3-4 days ago. It might be that it came out very, 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 very recently. But we had promotions going on at work, and I was like, oh, this is what this game was, and it looks fantastic. I mean, it looks like something that I would want to play. Like a lot of the Metroid stuff that I play, if it's not Metroid, if it has a really cool art design, or the looks play a really big factor. It looks really, really, really cool. And I definitely need to pick that up.
Cool. All right. For me, as I was saying earlier, 2D Metroidvanias that have great graphics is definitely a step up for me. So the number one Metroidvania that I'm very much looking forward to playing is Metroid Dread at some point, as I don't have a Switch yet. So that'll be the first thing I'll be playing once I do. A couple games that I do have, I just haven't gotten around to playing, as Mario mentioned at the beginning. Eterna Noctis, I'm very much looking forward to playing that. Really pretty. I think it's got like a hand-drawn type of art style. And then another one that's kind of has an art style, like a more realistic art style, but has a very otherworldly setting, but has good graphics, is Grime. I've heard a lot of good things about Grime. And then the Prince of Persia game that recently came out, and Jedi Survivor. Those are the ones that I'm looking forward to playing the most. Hopefully I should be able to get a chance to play all those within the next year. Mario, are there any Metroidvanias you haven't played yet?
Yeah, there's about 40 of them.
Okay.
Right now, I'd say the ones I'm looking forward to starting definitely Grime.
Okay.
I've heard some very good things about that. And also Eldorand is a recent release.
Eldorand, yeah, it came out just came out recently. I know Jay Huns just played that recently, and he's been I think he's been saying a lot of good things about Grime as well. One thing that's a shout out to Grime is I think that they've had a number of title updates, which is basically free DLC with all these new expansions that you don't have to pay for. So shout out to Grime for that.
Yeah, and I'd say also Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Someone I'm looking forward to, but I'm waiting for a hit EA play.
Yeah. So if it's anything like Fallen Order joined EA Play, which anything that comes to EA Play is part of Game Pass Ultimate, not the base tier of Game Pass, but Game Pass Ultimate. And Jedi Fallen Order went into EA Play almost exactly a year after release. So I'm expecting that Jedi Survival will probably do the same. And that came out April. Okay, so we're getting pretty close to very likely joining Game Pass very soon.
I wanted them to delay it until May 4th, but they didn't want to.
That would make sense. All right, and TJ, are there any Metroidvanias that you're looking forward to playing?
Yeah, so one of them you mentioned, Journey to the Savage Planet. I still haven't played that yet. Since I also don't have a Switch, Metroid Dread, I haven't played that. I haven't played the official Metroid 2 remake, and I want to. Blasphemous 2, the new Prince of Persia, and because no one mentioned it, I want to play Hollow Knight Silksong whenever it comes out.
Yeah.
I know
whenever, if it ever comes out at this point. Jeez.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are very excited for that one. I still need to play the first one, so that's not very high up there on my anticipation list.
Mm-hmm.
But I know a lot of people are looking forward to that, and I'm happy for them. Dude is saying has a question here.
He's
It's
got a
a
good
good
question.
panel question. What good Metroidvanias are we going to lose with the 360 store closure this year? Good question. Oh, that I'm glad you mentioned that because that actually reminded me of one that I wrote on one of my notes, but I forgot to transfer it over to my other notes for honorable mentions. Fortunately, this one does have an Xbox One version, so we're not losing it entirely, but the 360 version is not backwards compatible and is digital only. So if you don't own it, if you don't buy it before the store closes, you won't be able to get it. And that's Strider. Basically also another 2D Metroidvania with a great art style. You're basically the Cyber Ninja. And that was a really good game. So I've played the Xbox One version. I have not actually played the 360 version. I do own it though. So I am looking forward to going back and playing that again at some point as well. It's annoying that actually you have to get my 360 out to play that one because it's not backwards compatible.
It's a good game.
So other than that, that's a good question. Oh, similarly, Guacamelee 1 does have a Xbox 360 version that is digital only as well. I have already played that one. There is an Xbox One version, so we're not losing it as well. But if you wanted to play the 360 version, it's already been removed from the store, so you can't buy it anymore anyways. So we've already lost that one, unfortunately. That was one of the very few Xbox Live Arcade games that did have a full 1,000 gamer score. Very few Xbox Live Arcade games ever reached the full 1,000.
But I think to answer dude's question though, in general, I don't think there is one on 360 that hasn't been ported over to like the Switch because I know a lot of Switches. Wrong.
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't like besides like if you're looking for like gamer scores and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that there's like one on just the 360 that didn't get like an updated version of that same game that didn't go to the Xbox One or found its way to the Switch. Because I was thinking the same thing as all that, or even Steam. Because I was thinking about the same thing. Because I was like again, like Shadow Complex. But I'm like, no, they had that for the Steam and all that kind of stuff. But like, the remaster. So I don't think there is one that if you don't have it on something else, or you have it on your 360 that you can't get it on something else, and it's lost forever. I don't think there is one, but I could be wrong. But off the top of my head, I don't think there is any.
The one that just reminded me of, I'm sure it probably exists on other platforms, but I know for a fact on Xbox it was a 360 digital only, and once the store closed, you can still buy it today, but if you don't buy it before the store closed, you won't be able to get it on Xbox, and that's Dust and Elysian Tale. That was also a good game. It's basically a furry game because you play like an anthropomorphic like fox or something, but it's got a really pretty art style. James played it on not that long ago as part of Steam Roulette, and he did not enjoy it. But I thought I played it, like 10 years ago, and I enjoyed it. But that's one that on Xbox at least it will be gone forever. But I'm sure it probably exists somewhere else.
It's on Steam. Yeah.
Okay.
James is also a hater.
James
Dust
just played it, so obviously it's still on Steam. Yeah. So Gone Forever, I don't think there'll be any Gone Forevers, but there may be Gone from Xbox in the case of Dust. But there weren't very many Xbox Live Arcade digital only Metroidvanias. The only other one, actually another one. I know this one's on Steam as well, but is on Xbox is digital only. But and I have not played it yet, but I'm looking forward to playing it at some point. Is Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet. That one is digital only, and will be, I believe because it has a
that one is backwards compatible though.
Oh, it is. That's right. Never mind. It's backwards compatible. So there is a Games for Windows Live version which is no longer on the store, so you can't get it. But if someone has the file, they can share it, which some very fine people in our Discord community have shared it with me. So I will be able to play both the Xbox and the Windows version. But yeah, that's right. The Xbox 360 version is backwards compatible, so I can play that on my Xbox Series X. So yeah, I don't think there are any. But good question. And Spartacus is saying, Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order and Metroidvania games. Well, I played those. Yeah, he's been talking to me about those. Yeah, those are 3D Metroidvanias. I did enjoy Fallen Order for the most part. So I'm looking forward to playing Fallen Jedi Survivor. So, So the last segment here was Jason's idea. So he thought it would be kind of fun if we do a group ranking of our top picks together. I don't know. This may be a disaster. Maybe every game is just going to end up in S tier. But we thought we'd give it a try and see how it goes. Taking the games that we mentioned so far and that we put on our list and doing a group ranking and seeing how that goes.
So pretty much with the games that we've listed as our own separate top 5, we'll pretty much make the panel's top 5 games as what we go. Obviously, I think we might know what number 1 is with just kind of like the weighted of everybody's kind of go with that. But like how would you go from 5 to 1 would be interesting to go from there. So like we'll say like if, my game would be in Metroid, Metroid 2 being like, if we had to give like points to it, that game would have got like 5 points. Not saying that's the case, but like what games all that we mentioned would make the panel's top 5. Doesn't have to work that way, but we're just kind of going down the list what we think as a group what our panel's top 5 would be. For in the chat we say, hey, go play these games kind of thing, where they should play all the games. But
okay, that's a little bit different than I was thinking, because I do actually have a tier list pulled up here that we can
you can do that. We can do that too. But I was thinking however we want to go about doing it.
Because I've got I had to add a bunch because this was one that was built by one of my Xbox guys, so it had all the Xbox games, so I had to add all of
we can do that way.
Non-Xbox ones. But we can ignore all of the ones that are not on our list. But I should have been writing down what our list was so I could easily reference it. So quickly, so my top, I think I was the only one that mentioned Mummy Demastered. So let's put all of the ones that we did mention in this bottom tier first. These should be alphabetical except for the Metroid ones here down at the bottom. So where's the Mummy? There's too many of them here. It's Mummy Demastered. There it is. We had Metroid 2 was mentioned. We had the Ori games, or Shadow Complex was mentioned. I should have been doing this while we were talking. I was too involved in the conversation, so that was
right in the middle.
My fault.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 in the middle. Yeah.
Will of the Wisp and Blind Forest. Yeah, this is the non-definitive edition, but we'll just use the definitive edition. I did have to add, Dead Cells, because I did not add that because I don't consider that a Metroidvania, but Jason does. So
I knew. I didn't at first, but then again, type in Dead Cells on Google. It says it is. I know.
Obviously, we had a bunch of mentions of Super Metroid. Let's see here. All right. Journey to the Savage Planet was one of mine. J-H-I-J. Oh, there's Insane to Shadow Planet. And I think... I put Metroid Prime on mine. So Metroid Prime. All right. And then... were there any of yours that we missed?
You're missing Symphony of the Night.
Symphony of the Night. I do. I was surprised.
C.
Yeah.
Right after
I couldn't.
Second call, bro.
Yeah. I added that one myself because I was like, whoever built this forgot Symphony of the Night, but it's because it's this one right here. And I just didn't recognize it, but I got a different one that actually says Symphony of the Night on it. So. All right, is that all of them, or are we still missing some?
AM2R.
AM2R.
It's right near the bottom.
Right there.
There it is.
All right. Any others? Did we get all of our top 5s?
I think that's all of them.
Okay. Yeah. Paul's like, go put Salt Sanctuary in S tier.
Actually, sorry, nope. Your list doesn't have Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown in it.
Thank you.
Because that didn't get the genre tag
for
achievements.
Yeah, I did have to add that one myself as well because we're still waiting on the Metroidvania tag on True Achievements. It's still only labeled as a platformer.
And Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight, that's right.
Yep.
That's all mine.
Right there. Okay. All right. Did we get them all? Anybody missing any of their top 5?
Nope, I think you got them.
That's nice. You forgot Mystic Bell. That was the
Mystic
very first. That was the very first Vayner of the month when I started the year of the Vayner a couple years ago. So shout out to that. All right, so we'll just go ahead and kind of go down the list here in no particular orders. What is the group ranking for Mummy Demastered? I probably have it a lot higher than everyone else, so I won't be hurt if it gets like a lower ranking from you guys.
Honestly, because of the name of the game, I honestly did not play it, so I can't give it an S tier because I didn't know. But I mean, if everybody else does, I'm totally fine with it. But yeah, I honestly did not know it was a Metroidvania game.
Yeah, it's DJ. Did you play Mummy Demastered?
I've 100%ed it.
Okay.
Oh, this is going to be really hard. Like, I don't think any of these games are D tier or C tier.
Try not to think about it as a S, A, B, C, D tier.
Yeah.
Just, like, we're gonna say they're all good and just rank them on like whether they're better or not as good as the other ones.
Like best of the best.
So in this case, D is not bad. It's just the worst of the best. If you say that.
I would say Mummy Demastered is probably between C and D tier. Okay. It's a good game, but I think it has a couple of like flaws to it. It's not like the best experience, but it is really good. Okay. I just think other games on this list do what it does better and like more consistently.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Understandable. Do you think that's a pretty good spot for it, Mario?
I could see like if the best way to say it, if we were making our like say not a top 5 list, but say we were making a group top 10, I could see this being our 10 because again, I have never played it, not knowing it, but I could see it being one of those like, hey, if you never played this game, you should definitely check it out kind of thing.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend this. You agree with this not C as we usually think of it, but C in this context? Do you think that's a good placement for it, Mario?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't disagree. I personally, I'd put it a little higher, but I totally understand that. So for Metroid 2, I can't say anything because I've never played it or its remake. As I've said, I've never played the original or Metroid 2, so I can't say anything. DJ Mario, have you ever even played Metroid 2?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I played it.
Okay, so it'll almost kind of be up to DJ. Where do you? If I had to guess, I'd probably kind of put it in similar. What would you say? But I don't know because I haven't played it. So it's
a good Metroidvania. I think it's a little bit bare bones, but I mean, it's one of the first in the genre. I mean, like prior to this, we only had Metroid.
The original
so it was Metroid and Metroid 2. So it's kind of unfair to say like, well, this is, not a good Metroid game compared to everything that's come after. Yeah, I would still say between C and D tier. Okay. Just because like some of the other stuff on this list does everything Metroid 2 does. I mean, AM2R basically does everything this game does better, but that's just my own take on it.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm totally fine with like C tier. The reason why it is a Game Boy game, and that's why it's bare bones. So it's coming off of an NES game, again, a new genre, but now it's handheld, and again, it's telling you, hey, to do this. So C tier is totally fine. I can easily see it being like, again, if this is our top 10 list, being 10 or 9, just because again, it is a simple version, and again, like the AM2R, like the fan remake of the game knew it was a good game, and it tried to make it better.
Exactly.
Yeah, like again, this being in C or D tier does not mean it's bad. So
yeah.
Well, while we're on the topic, let's do AM2R. Like I said, I played a little bit of it. I would probably put it right above in B. What would you guys say?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, with the games that are on there, because I'm trying to think where some of them would go. I can easily see low A or high B. So
okay. Yeah, I'd say the same thing between A and B tier.
Okay. All right. Shadow Complex.
Uh,
If not S, I would say A. I think it's such a great
E-
game. What do you guys takes?
that game was gonna
I think we've all played this one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those ones. Like again, for my, it's weird as it sounds because like Ori was in my number 5. Like Dead Cells is my number 4 because again I was doing research. But if it was on my honorable mentions, but Shadow Complex was one of my honorable mentions. So yeah, like it's an A or it's a high A or low S. It's a great game.
yeah.
It is great. Shadow Complex was my number 7. I would put it in B just because I want to make room for some other things above it.
hmm
Okay. What about you?
I can
DJ?
agree. I would agree with Mario. It's a great game, but there are games again that just do things Shadow Complex does better. But it's definitely like a solid B, and I might even rank that higher than AM2R on the B tier. Yeah, that looks better.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't necessarily. We'll do that. I wasn't necessarily putting them in any particular order.
Oh
on that
yeah,
tier,
that's fine.
but that's
fine.
actually a good idea. We can put them in the tier in order.
Mhm.
So, all right. Let's do Blind Forest first. Because in my opinion, Ori Will the Wisp is S tier. So, what about for Blind Forest? I say A tier. What about you guys?
I agree.
Mario and
Yeah.
TJ, would you say
I'd say between A and B, but if the consensus is A, I can totally say that's an A.
A? Okay. And then Will of the Wisp, I say S tier. I think it's the best example of the genre, in my opinion. What about you guys?
Yes.
You
Yeah,
don't necessarily have to think it's the best in the genre, but
no. I mean,
think
and again,
it is.
with the top 5 lists that we all came up with too, like, granted, I couldn't choose between one of the two, and it was your number 1. Like, it's easily an S tier. I mean, it's somebody's favorite. I couldn't choose between one or two. I chose one because of the artwork, and it was the first one I played. But I do agree that the second one was fantastic too. So, like, easily, it's up there.
Okay. Yeah. DJ, were either of the Ori games on your top 5?
Yeah, in fact, Will of the Wisps was my number 4.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's my number 4.
I think one of the Ori games was on all of our lists.
Yeah, for sure.
Is everyone good with S or?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'd say S. Sure.
Okay, cool. That makes me happy. All right, Dead Cells. Where do we put Dead Cells?
Go put in D. It's fine. It's only my game. You guys don't agree. I didn't agree either. Put it D.
Okay. I think it is a good game.
Mhm.
Oh, it's a great game, but again, it's pushing the limits, and again, it's one of those weird. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't agree with it at first until I started playing it for the last 2 weeks. But yeah, I can see it being a D tier.
In overall quality, I would rank it comparable to Blind Forest. But for Metroidvanias, let's just put it in D because it's not a very good fit.
I agree.
It's a low fit. So that doesn't mean it's like I said, it's not a bad game. It's just a low fit for the genre. So
Absolutely.
okay. Blasphemous 2. I haven't played yet. I'm looking forward to playing. I played Blasphemous 1 and I really enjoyed it. It took me a while because I started it and then I wasn't feeling it. I put it off for a long time and came back to it like 3 years later. When I actually went through it, I really enjoyed it. So I haven't played Blasphemous 2, but I'm looking forward to it. And it sounds like it's even
was
better.
Was that
than
in
the
one of
first.
our top 5s or was that just an honorable mention?
I think
it was just an honorable mention.
It was just your honorable mention. Okay. I thought it was in your top 5. So that was shame on me. Shame. So, all right. Well, I mean, is anyone going to disagree with Super Metroid being an S tier?
Nope.
It's basically, I mean, the original Metroid started the genre, but I think Super Metroid really cemented itself as like the father or mother of the genre.
You gonna move that ahead of Ori though?
Yeah, as I said, that was two number ones.
But 2 number ones,
okay. 2 number ones and a number. It was 2 number ones and a number 2. Like that's.
All right, I'll let it slide.
This is a democracy.
Exactly.
All right, I'll let it slide. Understandable. I would rather play Ori and Will of the Wisp, but Super Metroid is a phenomenal game. Savage Planet. I think I'm the only one that mentioned it, so see it go. I see it be down here in C or D. Great fun 3D Metroidvania. It's the closest thing we've gotten to Metroid Prime probably ever. But what do you guys think? Have any? I know Mario's played it, but
Yeah, I
Jason
would
or
put it in
DJ,
C
have you
tier.
played it?
No, I haven't. I have to abstain for this because I can't. I've seen videos of it, but I've never played it, so I can't really give it a rating.
Okay.
I haven't played it, but I can see it being better than Dead Cells, and just
Yeah.
like again, Metroidvania style.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah,
Same opinion there.
Paul's saying C or B. Okay. And is this good on C behind Metroid 2 then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say I'd recommend Metroid 2 and what's that one in front of that?
Mummy Demastered.
Yeah, I would recommend those two over Journey to the Savage Planet to, like, someone wanting to get into the genre. So.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. Okay. Metroid Prime.
It's a 3D. Yeah, I'd probably. This is where it becomes a problem with me. I'm not a biggest 3D Metroidvania fans. Metroid Prime is good, but I can see, for me, it's going to be an A or B. But I will sustain to what do you guys think.
Mario, did you ever play Metroid Prime?
It was my number 6.
Okay. So it's up there for you. And
Yeah.
then, so I'm assuming we're probably going to put it in A or B. What are you guys thinking?
I'm thinking A tier for sure. Like,
A tier.
I could not see that being below AM2R.
Okay. And
Me personally, I can, but again, I can see what you guys mean.
all right. You think it was your number 6, so I think
Bottom of
A
A
is
seems good.
okay. Behind Blind Forest?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
All right. Cool. All right. And Symphony of the Night. I'm assuming probably everyone's going to say S tier, since that's, also, Super Metroid and Symphony of the Night kind of founded the genre.
Yeah.
Anyone going to
I
disagree
would
with
put
that?
it a little lower.
I would too. I'd probably put it in A. But Jason, DJ, I'd say you guys are both S.
Either, if you're going to put it behind
front of A.
Yeah, I would say either the front of A or the back of S.
I'm thinking back of S, but front of A is just as good. Like if you told me, like, hey, go play a Metroidvania game, and they're just playing all of them, you don't mention Symphony of the Night as being one of the top
exactly
3 or 5. Like, there's, even with it being old, it's crazy. So, like, I can see a high A, I'll be okay with it, but like low S is where I think it fits.
Okay.
Every one of the S tier games would be things I would recommend to new players, where they're like, I want a Metroidvania and I want a really good one. What are the best ones? These are the ones I would recommend.
For recommending to a new player, I would actually recommend Blind Forest over Will o' the Wisp, because I think if you go Will o' the Wisp first, Blind Forest is kind of a letdown. So I'd say play Blind Forest first. It is also the first game, because that way when you play Will o' the Wisp, you're gonna be like, in my opinion, you're gonna be like, oh my god, this is even better.
Right.
And that's the reason why, like, for me, I put the Ori collection at number, like, together, because I couldn't choose, because that's another reason why too. Like, it feels like they are both one game, but unfortunately they're not.
Yeah.
But if you get that version, like, oh cool, I play the first one, then I play the second one. Like, but yeah, so like I agree. Like, if you could put the Ori collection together and we can cheat the system, then I would do that and then put that above Symphony of the Night. But yeah, it's tough.
Okay. Yeah. And Paul is saying, man, you guys make me want to stream Ori. Do it. I will be there to coach you if you need it. But I'll definitely be there to watch you, because I love that game. All right. The Lost Crown. I think Mario's probably the only one who's played it, but the demo, I have loved it. The combat, the movement was so smooth. I could definitely see this being in my top favorites once I play it. So I think Mario's gonna. Did anyone but Mario play this yet, other than maybe like the demo?
I started the game because, like I said, they gave me a copy, but with all the stuff that with all the time I haven't had, and all the time with the stuff that is coming out, I haven't had a chance to really give sink my teeth and give a full, like, review for it. But it is, I mean, what I played for, it's great.
So Mario,
I haven't played it yet. So.
Put it?
Back of B.
Back of B. Okay.
Yeah.
That seems fair. I'm very much looking forward to playing that. All right, last one. We got Hollow Knight. I am not, like I've said, I'm not as high on it as most people, but most people consider it as one of the best in the genre. So where do you guys all think it goes? I'd probably put it in A. What are your thoughts?
That's fair.
Yeah, I could see A tier being for Hollow Knight for sure.
Mhm.
And at the back of A, or
Back of A is fine. Yeah, I was thinking it's comparable to Shadow Complex.
Mm-hmm.
okay, cool, excellent. That actually turned out better than I thought it was because we were pitching some idea. Well, Jason. It's like, hey, we should do like a group ranking at the end. We're going through a couple of different ideas for how to do it. So that actually turned out really well. So,
so pretty much
cool.
our group top 5, just looking at this, would be Super Metroid number 1, Will of the Wisp number 2, Symphony of the Night, and then Ori, then Metroid, and then Hollow Knight. So yeah, like I said, that would be our 1 through 5/6, because again, I'm going to put Ori's together. So, but yeah, that would be our group top 5 for Metroidvanias. And to me, it sucks that Shadow Complex misses again, just because, like I said, it was my number 6. But again, it's up there, like it really is.
Yeah.
And Kay is saying that she's got some ideas for how to approach this sections for our future top 5. So cool. I will definitely be talking to you DMs about that because I am always open to ideas. So cool. Well, that was a lot of fun. I had so much fun talking to you guys about my favorite genres, hearing what your favorite games in the genres are. You know what? We can go ahead and turn that off for now. So thank you for joining us for the maiden voyage of top 5. We already have the top 5 episode 2 scheduled. We're going to be doing it over on Jason's channel, although I'll probably be dual streaming it to my channel as well. But I've got his channel is in the stream description. So if you want to go over there and sub to his channel, because he's just getting it started. So any help you want to drop, I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
Yeah, like, subscribe, whatever, hit all those things, whatever those that we're supposed to say, because this is again my first time with this whole YouTube thing. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, I don't know what it all is.
Yeah,
all those fun things.
DJ's channel is also in the description, so if you're not subscribed to him, go check out his channel. He makes awesome video game music remixes, and he's been streaming a lot of stuff lately, which has been a lot of fun. Mario, thank you for joining me. I know you're not really on the YouTube side of the internet much, so I'm glad you were able to join us. And
I'm not a content creator. I'm more of a pun creator.
Yeah. I was like, hey, do you have any social media links or anything you want to shill or plug? He's like, nope, I'm good. I'm like, well, I'm just glad you're here to join us. So thank you for joining us. Let's see here. I was talking about episode 2 of top 5 is going to be on the 7th. So that'll be 2 weeks from Thursday, and that will be on Jason's. Yeah, I'll probably be dual streaming here as well. But
honestly, we might just do it on your channel and I'll just dual stream it because it seemed pretty easy on this end. So we will, but again, we'll figure it out. But to give the people a little taste,
you want to give a little tease?
Yeah, what we're going to be doing. I believe we can just say the guests too, but Melee K and James are going to join us, and we're going to do top 5 games that Mario is in, not top 5 Mario games. So just top 5 games Mario has been a part of, just in cameo. Don't care what it is, but Mario just has to be in the game, and he could be on your top 5 list. And that's what we're going to do.
Cool. Mario, are you a big Mario fan?
Not especially.
Okay.
No, okay. Skeptical Mario is an anagram of my actual name.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So that makes sense. So I was going to say, hey, if you're a big Mario fan, you want to join, I'm sure we'd be happy to have you.
But I don't even have a Nintendo console anymore.
So. No worries. So, yeah, we'll be ranking top 5 games that Mario has been in. So, yeah, not because originally when Jason pitched it, I think we were talking, he said Mario games, and I was thinking like the mainline Mario games, but he's like, no, like anything Mario's been in. I'm like, okay, cool. I like that idea a lot better because I'm not a huge Mario fan, so that definitely opens up a very large spectrum of games.
And then again, like there's too many lists of top 5 Mario games. Like and then again, if we did that list, it's going to be pretty boring. We're already going to know everybody's number 1 or number 2 or all that kind of stuff. So like, let's open it up the floodgates. Why not?
Man, I've been losing sleep over this already. I keep being like, no, this one has to be in this spot. Yeah, she's a big Mario fan, so I'm very much looking forward to hearing what hers are. And we'll probably be arguing about it because, like I said, I'm not a huge Mario fan. So I'll probably be putting like games that she hates in the top and stuff.
There's
It'll be a
gonna
fun
be so
stream.
many. There's gonna be so many arguments. Is like, how could you put this Mario cameo over this game, kind of thing. So it's gonna be. There's gonna be a lot of fun.
Whether it's Mario or Zelda, I'll be yelling at you. Yeah, we'll be yelling at each other because, dude. This mentioned, are we doing a top 5 Zeldas? And that is on my list of things to do. So we'll probably be doing that at some point. And definitely, Kay is definitely on the stream. Dude, if you want to be on that stream, you're welcome to. So because we were planning on the third one. I don't have a topic yet, but we were looking at doing our episode 3 on March 19th. So if that works for both of you, maybe we'll make that one top 5 Zeldas. So let me know what you guys are thinking.
Sure.
So, all right, we'll go around the horn and plug whatever we got coming up. I will be on, as I said earlier, my buddy JT Gunn. I'll be on his Late Night with Cap tomorrow night at 6:30. Let's see here. I've got it right here on my calendar. 6:30 Pacific. We are going to be talking. I don't know if he wants to give away the topic, but we're going to be talking about some fun stuff. And then on Thursday night, I will be having my next episode of Open Mic with Professor Savage Dad. And that is about it for this week. I am doing, there is no party chat this Saturday. It'll be the first one since I started my channel that we will not be having a party chat on our regularly scheduled time. So that is all I have going on here on my channel for the next week. But I do also want to shout out on March 5th over on James Melee K and Melee James, we're doing a community game night for Mass Effect 3, and there's still one slot open. So my favorite game of all time. I love playing the co-op. So if anyone wants to hop in and join us for Mass Effect 3, there is still one slot. So go over to the Melee Games Discord to the community events and sign up. Or if you're not in there, I can get you in there and sign up for you or whatever. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So yeah. What about you, Jason? You got anything going on? You got any plans for your channel outside of this stream?
No, I just want to thank like everybody here, pretty much DJ, Nerdy Neo, and Melee, James, and Kay. They pretty much got me back on this voyage. Also, Paul too. They said like, man, you guys, you did really good game shows and everything like that. Why aren't you doing more of it? So I was like, why not? And this what kind of got me off of this kind of creation of things again. So I like to thank you guys for getting me off and going again on all this kind of stuff. So also I saw a dude say some stuff too. If anybody in chat has any ideas for top 5s, don't be afraid to let us know. We'd love to have you on the show. We'd love to see what you would want to hear us talk about too, because we all have great ideas, that we have on mind. But like again, this is pretty much a topic show where we want stuff that you want to hear, that you want to see, and all that kind of stuff. So we have our favorite of things, and you do too. And this is kind of like an idea for an open discussion on what we want to do. So please follow Nerdy Neo's channel. Please follow my channel that's just now started. Do all that stuff where I was joking, subscribing, liking, because again, we want to do this every 2 weeks. But again, it all just depends on our scheduling and topics and all your guys' scheduling too, because again, if you guys are not on the show, it's going to make it a little harder, because again, me and Nerdino could come up with ideas, but again, we love to have you guys on the show and make this kind of a group effort and have some fun doing it that way.
Yeah, definitely. Any topic ideas you have for top 5 or even for my party chat, if you got any topics, let me know. I'm always got my ears open. Anytime I'm watching videos or people discuss video games, I'm always like, oh, that would make a great discussion topic for party chat. Yeah. So let me know. And if you do any game show type stuff on your channel, especially for video games, I'm down. I love trivia and stuff. So I want to be part of any video game trivia contest.
There will be some more of that. And then there will also be kind of streaming, just because I got everything set up. And a game that's coming out in 9 days is probably going to take a lot of that time too. So I have yet to figure out how I'm going to stream that game. If I'm just going to put it, the Final Fantasy Rebirth is coming out. So am I just streaming that? Am I just going to be playing that in the background and streaming that? I haven't found out yet, because the game is going to be a long game, and I don't have much time with work and everything like that. So we'll see how that goes, and with everything like that. So we'll see how the channel up and runs. I really like this top 5 idea and running with that one. And yes, Melee, it's saying the demo's at 4. It's 6 a.m. for me, I believe. So I am going to sleep and wake up to do it. But yes, I've already beat the first demo like 12 times trying to figure things out. I can't wait for anything else. But yes, Rebirth is going to take a lot of my time, and I can't wait to play it and hopefully share with you guys and story stuff too. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. I know I mentioned it, but just last opportunity to shout out anything you might want to, Mario. Thank you for joining us. I know you said you didn't have much, but if there's anything you wanted to plug, floor is yours.
Nope. I suppose I should plug myself. If anybody is in a company that makes software and you need to hire quality assurance for your software, let me know. My email is MikeKioski@gmail.com.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to shoot me that, I can put it in the stream description as well.
Felt obligatory since that's the only thing I've got not going on right now.
Okay. Yeah, Dude 1286 is in a very similar field, so maybe you guys could connect, and who knows what could happen. So, all right.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you could join us, since you are very knowledgeable on this
one subject.
On this one sub, yeah. We're kind of, for our top 5 discussions, we're kind of looking for people who are well educated in whatever the topic is. So the guests are going to be different each stream. So, but glad you could make it. And DJ, what do you got going on?
I don't know if I'm on any shows not including my own, so I don't know if I have any guest appearances coming up. And if I did, I can't think of them at the moment. But anyone looking for me, they can find me on YouTube, Twitch, and Rumble. And I live stream just about every day. And I kind of I've been doing this thing now where I alternate between YouTube, Rumble for one stream, and then Twitch. So today I did Astalon Tears of the Earth on Switch, or on Twitch rather, not Switch. And then probably tomorrow I'll do the YouTube Rumble stream and kind of alternate back and forth. I also do original music and video game remixes on my YouTube channel. That's all I got going on.
Oh, cool. And right before we're wrapping up, Metastep's coming in to say hi. What's up, Metastep? I think you should go back and listen to it because we're just about to wrap up. It was a great stream. I think you'll enjoy it. So, if you Vanquish's coming in with an idea for top 5 Metal Gear games. Cool. Yeah, I've not played any. It's the only one I've only played one, so I wouldn't really be able to say anything on that one. But if you want to come in for a Metal Gear top 5 discussion, definitely. So we'll put that in the backlog of topics. So thank you.
We got a book. Got a book of all top 5s that we're thinking about. So yeah, we can easily add that one to it.
So, well, Paul's saying you'll be appearing every Saturday on my channel doing Lethal Company. Are you being voluntold by Paul?
I think I am for Paul. Yeah, I usually play with him, Insidious Bliss, and we missed it last week. But I also play with my producer Jazzy Panda, and we usually play Lethal Company. We play Deep Rock Galactic, and then we tried this other game that's coming out called Abiotic Factor.
Okay,
very interesting survival crafting game.
Cool. I've heard that mentioned a bunch lately, and I know. Insidious Bliss has kind of been trying to get everyone to play that. So
yeah, cool. I don't know if I can get the gang to play it because I don't think Paul and Jazzy can run it, but I would absolutely love to play Helldivers 2 with all of them. I know Insidious can play it for sure, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, the question is whether you can get into a lobby.
Yeah, if the servers don't melt or whatever.
So popular right now. And Metastep is saying, I recommend DJ Axe's music. I do too. His music is awesome.
His music's really good.
I often use it for background music on my streams as well because it's great. So
that's about 30 years of music experience talking. I started in 1994, I want to say, when I was about 14 or 15.
Yeah, there's been a number of streams where he's been talking about that, so I'm sure you can find those somewhere. But all right, well, that'll do it for the episode 1 of Top 5. Thank you, panelists, for joining me. That was great. Thank you, everyone in chat. You guys were all great as well. So we look forward to doing this again in a couple weeks. And we'll catch y'all later. And as my obligatory outro, in the meantime, everyone, game on.